You ever hear a story so painful, so raw, that it makes your heart stop for a second? This isn't a Hollywood movie. This really happened. In April 1942, over 76,000 American and Filipino soldiers were forced to surrender to the Japanese in the Philippines. They were starving, sick, completely out of ammunition. They thought surrender meant they'd live, but they had no idea what was coming. They were forced to walk over 60 miles. In the burning heat, no food, no water, and anyone who fell behind, shot, bayoneted, beaten to death. Just like that, it wasn't a march, it was a slow-motion execution. And it lasted for 9 straight days. Some of these guys were 18 years old, kids, carrying each other, coughing blood, feet covered in blisters and blood. Still moving. Why? Because if you stopped, you were gone. Along the way, a few brave locals risked their lives to hand them rice, a sip of water, a prayer. Tiny acts of kindness. In the middle of hell, when they finally reached Camp O'Donnell, they were barely alive. Skeletons with dog tags. They thought the worst was over. But the real nightmare was just beginning. They were locked in prison camps. No medicine. No proper food, malaria, dysentery, beatings. And somehow, they still held on. Then, in 1945, something unbelievable happened. A group of U.S. Army Rangers went deep behind enemy lines, hundreds of miles into Japanese territory. They launched one of the most daring rescue missions in U.S. history. They found those ghost-like soldiers, and they brought them home. The men who survived became known as the Ghost Soldiers. Not because they were dead, but because they refused to die. They marched through fire, through death, through hopelessness. And they lived. One of them said, "I didn't have the strength to fight, but I had enough to survive one more day." Now, if that doesn't hit you deep, I don't know what will. These men didn't ask for fame. They didn't do it for medals. They just kept going. So if you're watching this right now, don't just scroll on. Hit that like button to honor their memory. Share this video so more people know this story. And tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you were on that march? Because if we forget their story, we risk repeating it. They were ghosts once. Let's not let them fade again.